today I'm going to be reviewing Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. I completely consumed this book and it consumed me. I read it all in one day. Ripe is a haunting look at depression, corporate, and the quiet horrors of unplanned pregnancy. And it has this very ominous atmosphere to it. And I think a really good commentary on womanhood, capitalism, and mental illness. I've been seeing a lot of this book around on TikTok and Instagram, which is the reason I picked it up. I was sent it as a gift and I just felt like, you know, what better time to read it than when I have the physical copy in my hands. The book kind of has the vibe of walking around in a haze where you have something that's weighing you down. No one else can see it, but it's weighing you down a lot. And you're just making all of these decisions to appease this depressed side of you until you're tired of it. In Ripe, we follow Cassie, that's our main character. She is working in Silicon Valley in a high-pressure startup job. She describes the culture of the startup as toxic and suffocating, and her boss is an absolute nightmare. Alongside this weight of her job and capitalism, she also is in a sticky situationship and she has an unplanned pregnancy. So all of these things combined create this sort of atmosphere that anxiety thrives in, and just making any decision becomes so difficult for Cassie. She describes herself as having this kind of black hole that she's had her whole entire life, but it's very prominent now mixed in with all of these other kind of things that are going on in her life. So the black hole metaphor in this book is very interesting. It's obviously a portrayal of depression or mental illness, and every couple of chapters kind of ends with some fun facts about black holes. So you kind of have the black hole and then some notes about black holes. I thought that was a really fun way to capture how depression and decisions and mental illness are felt. It's also a great way to just kind of visualize something that a lot of people have a hard time putting into words, because someone can just say, oh, I'm depressed, oh, I'm sad, oh, I'm drowning under the weight of all the decisions I have to make, and you don't really know what that means. You don't know how much that actually is affecting somebody. So this kind of growing and shrinking black hole is a way to visualize Cassie's actual feelings at the time. This book's goal, I think, was to critique capitalism. I don't work in finance. I don't work in a hustling startup. I don't work somewhere where it's so grueling that I am thinking about work 24/7. The picture of hustle culture in this book is very brutal, very honest, and very toxic. And perhaps a little cliche, but I think satirical books tend to lean a little bit into the cliches just so you really get your point across. My favorite part of this book was how it discusses some of the tough decisions that women have to make, mostly whether or not to keep a pregnancy. For Cassie, it's really not just a yes or no simple decision. It's kind of feeling this guilt, this shame, this expectation of women to carry a baby to term, and also the fear of all of these outcomes, all of these decisions that she has to make her choice on. I did enjoy that the book never really felt preachy. When Cassie or any of the other characters were making their decision, I never felt like the author was really trying to tell us that everybody should make that decision. I just felt like this is what the character decided, and that was that. My biggest complaints about this book were I felt like none of the other characters were really fleshed out completely, which may just be the fact that Cassie was our main character and she was struggling with all of these decisions that she completely lost visual and emotional ties to everybody else in her life. Basically, she was only focused on herself and the decision at that time that she had to make. The mention of COVID, this is very personal. I don't enjoy COVID discussion in books. I know it's going to be there because contemporary fiction exists, but it's just my own personal preference. I felt like maybe the portrayal of COVID in Ripe wasn't as bad because it was sort of in the background the entire time until the very ending of the book. It wasn't a big plot line in the book, so that made it not unbearable to read about. Now this might be a little niche, but my last complaint, which really isn't a complaint, but it's just kind of a thing that irks me, is I'm a little bit tired of seeing pomegranates as a metaphor for womanhood, for fertility, for decision of life, really. I feel like that's so Tumblr poetry. Like, I feel like I got all of that out of my system when Tumblr poetry was really big. The book has multiple different pomegranate references inside of it and on the cover, and also just maybe in the name itself. That could definitely be a metaphor for pomegranates. Once again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt because a book kind of satirical about life and decisions and capitalism and womanhood and all of that kind of stuff. You know, you're gonna also play into the cliche of pomegranates, but I think it was slightly overdone. That was another reason that the book only got 4 stars instead of 5 for me. I loved the black hole metaphor, the portrayal of it, how raw and informational and humane the reference for black hole to mental illness is. I loved the critique of capitalism. I really enjoyed the writing style and just overall the kind of book that Ripe is. What I didn't love, the overuse of pomegranates, and just overall some of the moments where it felt like there was no contrast to real life. It was like just a little bit too bleak, but once again, not really that big of a deal to me overall. Now, this book to me is in the same kind of conversation as My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I didn't like My Year of Rest and Relaxation because it felt too unrealistic, and maybe that's just because I am of the working class and I didn't relate to the main character, but Ripe versus My Year of Rest and Relaxation, I'm gonna choose Ripe. If you liked or didn't like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, I think this is worth a try if you kind of liked the same ideas that My Year of Rest and Relaxation was trying to get at. It has that same detached, nihilistic female main character, but Cassie was just compelling and more tangible to me. Some other books that are very similar to Ripe for me would be Luster, Pizza Girl, The New Me, and My Year of Rest and Relaxation. So if you've read this and you're looking for others that are similar, check those out. If you've read those and you enjoy them, maybe check this out. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that this was similar to My Year of Rest and Relaxation? Did you enjoy listening to the cliche of working in Silicon Valley and the hustle culture? Did you think that pomegranates were overused? Did you rate it a 4 out of 5 like I did, or higher or lower? I've posted a written review, which might be easier to follow and make a little bit more sense, in my Goodreads and on my Instagram. And every week I ask my Instagram followers what book they want me to review. So if you want to vote on my next review, you can go there and do so. Bye.